So can you hear me okay? So good morning, fellow EU citizens, even if it is for just one more day. So we're going to talk about amplifying the candidate experience in your recruitment campaigns. So we'll set the scene just very, very quickly. So candidates are consumers. So with any product that we have, which is our job or our company, we need to reach our audience. So first of all, we need to reach. And I know there'll be a talk on programmatic later on. So media spend, most of our money on recruitment tends to go on how much we're spending on media, whom we're reaching, whom we're targeting, and we're getting much better with our solutions and how to do that, but it is a huge part of our budget. So we need to do that. We need to reach our customer base. But the recruitment element for us is, is engagement and connection. So we need to engage. So if we're spending money on our reach, on our marketing, on our media, we need to be able to connect with the right candidates for the right roles. So actually getting candidates to apply means we're making an emotional connection with them, and hence we're getting better ROI on our spend on the reach element. But it's also sales. We need to close the deal as well, so we need to sell it. So that's post-application. We have them in, and we need to convince them. And that's all great if it was just a very linear process and we were looking at very single hires. But actually now it's all got quite fuzzy because we're recruiting for multiple locations, multiple departments. We've got KPIs on diversity and inclusion all thrown into the mix. So how are we going to blend all of these requirements into the single recruitment process? And whom are we targeting? So we're good. Look, the term millennial, I'm glad it hasn't been mentioned once this morning because it's pretty much redundant now, right? So the youngest millennial is now turning 24 this year and the oldest 39. So it's the workforce. In a couple of years, it's going to be, 75% of the global workforce. But the data that's really important is 88% of this workforce, the cultural fit is more important to them than anything else. It's the highest part in their agenda when choosing a career, when choosing a company to go and work for. So we need to get this across. LinkedIn has been mentioned several times. 35 million searches per day, just 20 million open positions. It's bloody competitive out there. And with the workforce looking for cultural fit, expectations have never been higher from the candidates. It is about us and what we sell, but it's very much about what the candidate expectations are. Are we meeting the expectations? Are we getting them to click on that apply button? Are we converting the money we're spending on our reach into an actual application? And you saw how competitive it is. It's very easy for them to go to other companies. So we're using our employer brand. In the last number of years, the employer branding spend has been quite significant. It's been big, which is brilliant. And people are, in general, doing a really, really good job with it. And what we're selling to the potential candidates is not, in our head, it's the Ferrari of headquarters. Our business is the Ferrari of companies. We're going to attract people because, you know what, we're shit hot, and this is where they should come. So that's in your head, right? But ultimately, the candidates are seeing this, yeah? Which probably equates to this, okay? So there is a certain amount of reality that we do need to get across in our recruitment, but there's also the dream. We do need to big it up, but we need to big it up in a way that actually attracts the right candidates for the right roles. So, and that's the actual entrance to Ferrari, okay? But the other thing here as well is when we're talking about, this is working? While we're talking about employer brand, it's employer brand. It's not the marketing brand. A marketing brand will attract candidates, but not necessarily the candidates that you want. Attrition rates tend to be higher. I've had conversations with clients who, very high profile, large jewelry company, who have no problem hiring candidates or receiving applicants for certain high street roles, etc. Problem is their attrition rates, they last 12 months, 18 months, and they're gone. The recruitment cycle is constantly in motion. But then for more specialized ones like IT and finance, HR, they're actually finding it harder to find those applicants because maybe that's not the company for me. If people want to work in marketing, they're looking at the cool new tech companies or they're looking at Google or Facebook. But actually, the marketing work within other companies can be much more interesting. So how do we do that, right? So that's really important. So the employer brand, and 80% of HR people know that and agree that your employer brand is useful in attracting candidates. So we know this, right? And in general, we're doing a really good job. But then we take a step back again, and how do we actually post our jobs? okay? And this is not about applicant tracking system bashing. We absolutely need a applicant tracking system, if not for compliance, legal, write up the job descriptions, we get them up there. But they're for tracking. They're not for attraction. So if we look at what an applicant tracking system actually does, we create jobs, we post the jobs, candidates apply. I'm not so sure. I think there might be a gap in there, okay? Because candidates don't automatically apply. And the quality, you might get candidates, but not necessarily. There was a speaker earlier on talking about volumes of candidates. If that's a problem on another side. So let's get away from technology for a second and let's bring it back to brass tacks. So what we're talking about is people, okay? So what we need to do is attract people, and people sell to people, people buy from people. We don't necessarily, and when we're talking, like what if we could talk to, we have a finance role, what if we could talk to every finance person in the world? What would we tell them? We have another role in marketing. If we could talk to every marketing person in the world, what would we tell them? Probably not the same thing, right? We'll tell them elements of it's going to be the same, it's going to be about the company, but actually the roles they're going to be doing and setting the expectations and the opportunities within the company are very different. And they're different personalities anyway. So we need to be able to attract people. We need to be able to humanize the experience. We can use technology, but ultimately put yourself in the candidate's shoes, walk around in the candidate's shoes. You've all probably applied for the roles that you've had. What was your experience like? Now let's make it better. Skipping up on me. So here's just a typical search button on a company's career site. They've got different roles in call centers, finance, information technology, etc. Okay? So what we've done with them is when you look at the customer service type positions, that's the template for the job description. Now this company uses Taleo, so not replacing the ATS, we're actually sitting on top of the ATS and we're making the quality of candidate going into the ATS much better. So if we look at this, the job description is the same job description they put on their applicant tracking system, but the content down the right-hand side is the content that's associated with customer service in that company. So it includes video, it includes images, it can have moving GIFs, but we're making a connection, right? There was a question a minute ago about too much content and distraction. I would agree, don't put too much content in, but we still need to make a connection. And content with videos in is 34% increase in conversion rate. This is one of their IT roles, coming off the same applicant tracking system. We're just putting content in the job category. So we're pulling from a library of content for different job categories. Here again, you've got video. The top one is kind of a meet one of the team. That's a moving GIF. It moves around, and it tells you about that person and what it's like to work in that department. So again, we're setting expectations. And by doing that, we're getting the right people to apply for the right jobs. Over 90% of people who are searching jobs are doing it on mobile. We all do it. You're sitting on the tube or sitting on a bus or stuck in traffic. You're looking at, shouldn't be doing it in traffic, but you're looking at jobs on your mobile. If your journey and if your whole journey from career site to application isn't mobile optimized, you are losing out on candidates. So if we look at this, this is actually a screenshot from my phone, so this is an actual mobile journey of one of our clients. So what we've done is we've implemented a read full job description underneath the main headings. We've got the other similar jobs, social sharing, employer branding, and we've even got join the conversation in there, which is basically their Facebook page. So candidates can now make a connection with the employer brand. We've spent money on the employer brand anyway, so why not put it at what I'd call the zero moment of truth, or as Google coined it. It's the first interaction, first connection with a candidate is very often in the job application. So we can come back up and we can look at the rest of the job description. We can click apply. If you click apply on that one, it actually goes back to success factors. If we didn't have the read more in there, that's what it would look like. Just quite long, and they'd never get to the content down the bottom. It also gives them option to go and search more jobs. So you've got the click from LinkedIn or from the job board. Why not use and maximize your employer brand with that potential candidate? And then we can go to the top menu and bring them around the career site as well. That's all a single job description. That's all templated. That job description was created and put into success factors, pulled into the system, and that's because ultimately the candidate couldn't care less what applicant tracking system you're using. They might as well be using Excel for all they care. all right? All they want to do is be able to apply. All they want to do is be able to make a connection with the company for the role that suits them. And I want to see the cultural fit. So that's what we're getting at there. Okay, so in the last 20 years, it's been all about the application. It's been all about getting candidates over the line, getting the number of applicants in. But actually now it's changing. What we want to do is humanize the experience an awful lot more. And what we want to do is make a connection with candidates and give them information. And it's another channel to feed your employer brand to potential candidates, even before they click the apply button. Okay? Because we're creating advocates while we go as well. So we're going to use people call it AI. It's not. It's you're feeding in the content in there to make sure that the candidate is getting the right information. So we're controlling the information. But if I take you to a very simple journey, so this is one for a registered nurse in a health service in Atlanta. So, are you interested in learning about registered nurse positions? Yes, I am. Great. Tell me your name. The only information we're asking for at this stage is their name. All right? Very simple. Nice to meet you. What are you? Registered nurse? Are you in nursing school? So now first of all, we're helping them, but we're gathering information at the same time. So I'm a registered nurse. Okay, what do you want to know about? I want to know about growth and training. So we give information on growth and training. Okay, do you want to connect with a recruiter, or will I tell you more? No, tell me more. I want to know about the work environment. Brilliant, that's our favorite topic, We're making a connection with the candidate. We're telling them what it's like to work in there. We can put in imagery, we can put in content here straight from our employer brand. And this is obviously an example. So what you want to do now, and ultimately, yes, we've told you about this, this, and this. Actually, okay, connect me with a recruiter. Okay, now give us your email address and we'll connect you. So we're gathering data all the time, but we're learning the touch points. We're learning the hot buttons for individual candidates. We now know what is of interest to them. And this is just a chatbot. Talk to your sales colleagues, talk to your marketing or your support colleagues who've been using probably chatbots for a while. They're very successful, but what we're doing it here is not to be a blocker. It actually is enhancing the candidate experience. And it's enhancing the experience because they haven't even applied yet, and you're willing to give them information. It can cut out an awful lot of the level of activity at the top of the recruitment funnel. We're actually automating we're getting the candidate to actually tell us what's of interest to them, and they don't have these questions later on. So we're actually saving an awful lot of time, we're saving an awful lot of money and resources, but we're actually getting the candidate then to apply. Does it work? So busy slide, but look, once the chatbot is clicked on average with the people that we've deployed it with, 68% have continued the journey. So that's pretty good, right? So they're engaging with us. When we do a poll at the very end, so if people have got to the end who've actually had a certain amount of connections with the chatbot, was it useful? Over 70% have said yes. It's been very, very useful. Okay, we'll take that any day of the week. So we're in blame. But on the other side, the information for us as recruiters as well is these are two different types of roles. So this is from the trucking industry, owner-operator that needs to own. So two different types of driver and what's important to them. Is it pay? Is it pets? Is it start time? Is it equipment, etc.? So we can find out what's important to the candidates before they even apply or while they're in the process. And who knows where we can drive the traffic to. We can drive the traffic back to our ATS, we can drive the traffic back to our job board, we can drive the traffic. So we're starting to control the journey of the candidate. And so, kind of finally, we're talking about stats. We have the stats on chatbot, but we actually have stats on everything along the process as well. So we want to know where our candidates are coming from. We can measure every touch point from the landing pages that we saw earlier on. We can see where they're coming from. And yes, we can distribute the landing pages to LinkedIn. So when someone clicks apply, it goes into the candidate journey that we want them to go into. So we can post the jobs externally. We want to know geographically where they're coming from. We want to know the male-female split. And this comes back to the content that we have. So we all have KPIs in certain areas. So engineering is a hard place to hire. It's hard to find candidates. And on top of that, you've probably been given KPIs. Okay, well, we need a diverse candidate pool there, and we need more females to apply there because we want to fix a gender imbalance. So we can break this down and go, look, for that engineering role on LinkedIn, what was the percentage of male versus female? What was the age demographic? What locations did they come from? So now we're getting information on where to spend our media bucks. So where are we actually going to invest? And actually, where are we building a candidate pool? You can get the stats on your own candidate pool and talent community as well. And then obviously you can start proactively communicating with your candidates from there. So it's all about humanizing the candidate experience, the right content to the right people, to build up and make our lives an awful lot easier. So basically, in summary, don't rely on your ATS alone. Think like a candidate. We've all been there at some point, but think like a candidate in demand. Okay, so we're not the fancy Ferrari building that we'd like to be, but we're not the tradesman's entrance either. So we want something that's actually going to appeal to the candidates, and engage with your employer brand. So you're building an employer brand. It's working really well internally, but we need to actually get it in front of candidates. Get it in front of candidates at the first interaction, which is very often the job description. Set expectations. Obviously, the text in the job description is really important as well, but people interact with images and video. You can connect with the candidate through your content, or you can connect with them with technologies like chat. But you have to make a connection with the content, with your candidates through content, and obviously measure and adapt. It's only useful if we're actually learning from the process and moving on and refining our processes. So that's what I have on amplifying your recruitment processes. Thank you.